Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rue and this is my channel, Rude Gal. And today I'm going to be showing y'all a video on how I usually get ready for work, like my everyday army look. I'll be 100% honest, since COVID and us having to wear masks on our face and stuff like that, and being that I work like 12-hour shifts, I don't always do my makeup because I just find it like really uncomfortable to have it on for that long. But when I do my makeup for work and I'm in uniform, this is usually how I do it, especially with braids in my hair and stuff. So if y'all stay tuned, I will show y'all how I do my military bun with my braids and how I do an in-regs makeup look. Let's get into it.
So I like to start by laying my edges so it can have time to dry while I do my makeup. And today I'm using my Got2b Ultra Glue to get my edges together. I'm just doing small flicks to gather any strands of hair that are loose, and once I'm satisfied, I'm just folding this bandana I got from Walmart and placing it directly onto my edges so they can melt in very nicely. I want to ensure that I'm tying the bandana tight enough so that I can achieve the look that I'm going for, but not to the point that I'm uncomfortable. And then I'm just placing this sort of towel-like textured head wrap for added pressure, once again so I can achieve this super flat, super laid look. Once that is done, I'm just grabbing a clean beauty blender and my Uoma Say What foundation in the shade T2W for my base. I use a damp beauty blender for seamless application and do recommend that beginners use any sort of sponge applicator because it makes applying foundation far more manageable than using brushes or other applicating devices. Y'all see that this foundation is very rich and brings some serious warmth to my face, which I love because I'm forever trying to look like I just stepped off the sands of Haiti. But once I felt content with my blending, I move on to my Stay Woke concealer, which is also from Uoma and is also in the shade T2W, and start concealing my under eyes and move on to the rest of my face. Once I've applied the concealer on all the high points of my face, I go in with my damp beauty blender and basically go to work. I like to use the same beauty blender that has residual foundation on it because it helps for a more seamless finish. Now I'm taking my time to make sure I have blended to the best of my ability because it's not a race. Now that I have applied my foundation and concealer and I'm comfortable with my work, I'm going to contour to bring some dimension back into my face. This is the Double Take Contour Stick in the shade T2W as well. So I started off pretty high on my cheeks, then on my chin, and then down the side of my nose, and then along the perimeter of my forehead. And the order doesn't really matter, but I do recommend being light-handed because it's easy to add but hard to remove. And once again, this is not a race by any means. Once I have placed the contour onto all the areas that I would like to draw shade to, I use my Morphe M459 to blend. And usually I use this brush to apply the contour because of how narrow it is, but today I switched it up and I'm using it to blend it out. Maybe not the best choice, but it's working for the most part. Here I'm going in on my forehead and then down the sides of my nose, making sure there aren't any harsh lines. Personally, I like to drag my contour up into my brow bone, so we want to make sure that is blended as well. And once that's good, I'm going to go ahead and reapply some of my concealer just because I feel like it can be brightened up just a little bit. Just because I like to layer, and as I said, it's easy to add but hard to remove. This time, I went up the sides of my nose for some reverse contour, and instead of my beauty blender, I'm using the e.l.f. powder brush, which I don't think is a powder brush at all because of its uneven ends, but just using it to equate my face. Now unfortunately my camera died, so I continued filming on my phone, which isn't the best quality, but your girl is working on getting an extra battery for these situations, so bear with me. So once I finished blending on my second layer of concealer, I then grabbed my Fenty Cream Cheeks Out Bronzer in the shade TOFFEE TEASE, and I went in on the side of my nose again. I did this because I feel as if I hadn't applied enough the first time, so I went in again. And after that, I went in on my cheeks with my bare hands because I felt that it applied it better that way. Once I felt that I had enough warmth on both sides of my face, I used my e.l.f. powder brush to marry that all together and then moved on to my brows. For my brows, I'm using the Wet n Wild eyeliner in the color dark brown, I believe. And while that sounds crazy, it's very rich and cheap. and doubles as a contour, which is why I was on my nose for a small social experiment. But then I'm just grabbing this spoolie that was actually gifted to me by my battle buddy Mac, and I'm brushing my brows up to make sure that it's all blended out on each brow. Once I finish that, I'm using an angled brush along with the Tarte Tape Shape foundation in the color Honey to add definition to my brows and to just clean them up a bit. I like to conceal the top and bottom of my brow because of how bushy they are, and I'm not really a fan of getting them done, but it helps to clean them up a bit, and sometimes I go in the front of my brow to just lighten it up. Once I finish with that, I do go in with my beauty blender to blend out the outer perimeter of my eyebrows. Then I'm just grabbing my spoolie again and brushing my brow to eliminate any harsh lines. Once that is done, I'm grabbing my Fenty Pro Filter setting powder in the shade Banana, and it's already all over my face, don't ask me how. And I'm just setting it everywhere I placed my concealer, because while those are the places we want to draw attention to, they're also the areas that are most oil prone. So, I'm putting it there and then some, because I want to ensure that my makeup lasts throughout my 12-hour work shift. Here I'm just doing some reverse contour to help all of the other contour products that I put on pop more. It's the same thing that I'm doing with my nose. And, just making sure everything is meshed in as well as it can be. So I'm definitely applying this generously. And I've noticed how oily my brows can get. So I'm actually applying powder onto my brows as well so that they can last just as long as the rest of my face. Once that is done, I grabbed an old powder brush that I have. And using a very light hand, I'm wiping away all the excess powder off of my face, my brows, and just ensuring that, I've gotten almost all of it off without distorting majority of the makeup. I grabbed my It's My Ray Ray X BH Cosmetic powder brush to make sure I got all of it off because I don't want to look crazy. And then added some rosiness to my cheeks with Juvia's Place blush in the color Serafina using my blush brush from e.l.f. I don't do eyeshadow in uniform, so I just use the residual blush on the brush onto my eyelids to add a flushed appearance. Then for some added spark, I'm using the Black Magic Carnival highlighter from Uoma Beauty along with the fan brush to apply highlighter onto the high points of my face. Don't let nobody convince you can't have a little bit of sparkle in uniform now. Don't be walking around gray for nobody, girl. So as you can see, I put highlighter wherever I feel I can use some shine, and I don't do it sparingly. Oh well. Tastefully, but I'm gonna shine, especially on my forehead. And using this small detailed brush from Real Techniques, I'm applying the highlighter to the tip and bridge of my nose. This brush is very small and easier to control. Now I forgot where I was going and started to put some in the inner corners of my eyes, but I avoided that by smudging it out because I wouldn't recommend having a popping inner corner eye in uniform. Now for my favorite mascara at the moment is the Full Frontal Volume Lift and Curl Mascara from Fenty, and I'm going to work. I'm just working it into my eyelashes as best as I can till I get a really defined look that I like, wiggle it in there. Then wiggling onto my lips, here's my bestie at the moment. Her name is Glass Slipper, and she's glossy, she's inclusive, and she's uniform friendly. This is the perfect hydrating gloss for like a simple look like this. And did I forget that she's also Fenty gang? Cause And now it's time for the reveal y'all all have been waiting for. I'm just taking off all my scarves and ensuring that I am not distorting any of my edges in the process. And honey, she is laid. Because we love some tea over here, but I realized my earrings were still in, so I was just taking them out before I forget. And then I'm just putting all my hair to one side, and then I'm putting it in a ponytail as best as I can because the braids are really thick and I can't really see the back of my head like that. Now I can barely see the back of my head, so I just play around with it a little bit until it feels centered enough. Then, I just, pat it down and things like that. But then I spread the braids to expose the center, and then I start to wrap the braids and tuck them as I go along until I have a really neat, perfect, and tight bun. At least as neat and as tight as it can get for, jumbo braids like this. Now, I know they always telling y'all to secure them wigs and y'all don't want to listen, but I'm going to need y'all to secure this bun. Put a couple rubber bands until you feel like it's secure enough, okay? And I almost forgot, but I'm removing my bracelet because it is not AR 670-1 approved, honey, and ain't no master sergeant gonna be telling me nothing today. Now, I usually use rose water to refresh my face, but I'm using it as a mock setting spray because I was feeling a little dry and I didn't have anything else. So now that is it for the video. I hope y'all learned something new. For my fellow service members, be sure to check the regulation that pertains to your branch, as they can change depending on your selective service. And always remember that everything is at the discretion of your acting commander. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.